Hey everyone, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this. But
Yeah.
welcome to Reserved Seating. Rob and I are taking a little bit of a break this week in the sense that we just kind of want to talk to each other. Like every once in a while, even though we're talking to each other every week, like in text and like
Yeah.
over reserved seating, sometimes I'm just like, I wish I didn't have this barrier of fire starter to talk to you through. So
The pretense that it's only for work, I don't like that. And it's
yeah,
not.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of like, you know, if Rob and I were like, "Do you want to go fishing this weekend?" This is like what we would talk about. Of course, let's talk about the topic that's on everybody's mind this
Topic of the
weekend.
day. The big news. Movies are back.
Movies are back. I do like that this thing comes back like every few weeks, that it's now movies are back. And I'm just like, I thought movies were back already.
Movies are back. Um, People who have never seen a movie before are going to see Barbie and Oppenheimer.
And
Their
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom, which you just told me about last week. I didn't even know existed. I wanted to talk briefly about this. One, because I guess it's news or whatever, but two, just because it's been on my mind. I haven't really. Here's my advice to everybody. Don't be online. That's my big advice. I have not really been on Twitter very much. I have not really been on many of the film socials. But
What's Twitter? Do you mean X?
I'm sorry, X, the newly, as of I think, like right now, maybe
Yeah. Yeah,
newly
yeah, what does Film X think of all of this?
Yeah. We're dating this episode right now, but we're recording it. I think literally the evening that X is becoming coming into coming Skynet is coming online. It's coming into existence.
X gonna
Um,
give it to us.
X is unequivocally and surely in a really like reasonable, measured, intelligent, and thoughtful way going to give it to us. Yeah. So I don't go online. I don't like being part of the discourse. I tend to I write my reviews, and that's kind of I just let that speak for me. This is what I think about the movie. Here it's out there. And but I did take a peek in. I waded my feet in to the discourse this week. And two things. One, the amount of people purposely misunderstanding both of these movies in a way to sort of generate and be part of the monetization of the discourse is gross, and it always has been, and I'm mostly ignoring that.
Yeah.
Stop engaging with these bad takes. Stop sharing, stop clicking, stop looking at Ben Shapiro lighting Barbie dolls on fire. It's all nonsense. It's all circus. um, Adam, a couple weeks ago, you were talking about sort of the distractions that we're given in order to stop paying attention to things that matter. That's one
Mhm.
of them. Second off, if people are excited about Barbie and Oppenheimer and they want to go see both of them and they want to dress up, fucking let them.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. Leave everybody alone. Somebody's excited about going to see a movie. Guys, I see everything. You know how shit everything is? You know how bad almost everything is and how little enthusiasm people have? Not if you're
Mhm.
watching this, you're probably not one of those people, but like most people, go talk to your mom, go talk to your sister, go talk to your friend. Does anybody care? I talk to people and they're like, I don't, what is that movie? I don't even know what that movie is. Is that Marvel movie number 38? I don't even know what that is. People are legitimately excited to like go to the movies. Why would you not want that? Leave everybody alone, let everybody have their fun. Just be quiet. Stop being online.
Yeah, the thing that's nice about Barbenheimer is how organic it was. It was never it works in the opposite way that Warner Brothers almost wanted it to, because
Kind
this
of.
was intended to be like FU a little bit to Christopher Nolan for jumping ship to Universal.
Yeah.
So they refused to move Barbie off of Oppenheimer's date. And all that really happened was the two of them stuck to their guns on that release date. And rather than pit an us versus them, which is what the studios wanted, or at least Warner Brothers wanted specifically, audiences were like, it'd be great if we just see both of these two movies we're genuinely excited about on opening weekend, and kind of like I'm not always in favor of like, let's make a movie a thing, like maybe the movie can just be the movie, but this is kind of special because it seemed generated out of pure enthusiasm.
It feels genuine. That's the
Yes.
difference.
Yeah, and I love what it represents in the sense that these are movies that people wanted to see, and they're showing like we will en masse support movies that look interesting with movie stars that we like, with filmmakers that we trust and want to see films of. These aren't, even though it's IP or, Nolan's kind of a brand unto itself, like these are originals.
Yeah.
And it's not dragging out a legacy, whatever, just to keep a brand alive and everything like that. So I am in complete favor of this. I hope it's a seismic change on the industry. I don't know if it will be, but I surely hope that it will. At the very least, I think it should uh like get studios hip to releasing two big movies that are different on the same day.
Our programming. Remember when we used to do that?
Yeah, because I mean, like, what happens is if a general audience, like people who don't go to the movies all the time, like you or I, or like an AMC stub A-list member or whatever like that, if a general audience goes and has a great time, they're going to want to go back to the movies. So like even if it wasn't like, people who are in their 20s or 30s who have the luxury to go to see Barbie and Oppenheimer back to back in one evening, if you go see Barbie and you hear like everybody going to see Oppenheimer and everybody's like buzzing about it, you're going to be like, well, maybe next weekend we should go see Oppenheimer.
I'm just really sort of like excited about the idea that like the WGA and SAG are on strike right now to get the stuff
Yeah.
that's coming to them.
Mm-hmm.
Comic Con is full of comic book artists right now instead of
Yeah. I
gigantic.
heard anecdotally, like people are saying this is the best Comic Con that they've had in years because the studios aren't there.
And there are two big movies in theaters that people are excited about. This is like I'm happy right now. Like
I
this.
do too. Yeah, it seems like the will of the people is kind of winning this weekend. On Friday, I saw them back to back. I would suggest seeing Barbie first, then Oppenheimer.
Yeah, it's just,
Um, because I don't know how Barbie would play after, because Oppenheimer is a pretty heavy experience. But I I haven't really. It felt like I went back in time to summer of 1999 and went on a Friday night to the movies. Like people were just all over the place. They were excited about going to see movies. Like every theater seemed like it was full. It felt a lot like when there was like this one like span of 2 weeks in '99 where it was like Runaway Bride was huge, The Blair Witch Project was huge, and The Sixth Sense was huge, and these were all kind of like hits that you kind of expected to do well or did not know were going to do well at all. And it was born out of genuine enthusiasm and not hype. And I love that, and I hope that it continues. So I at least, and I think you too, we grew up in the time where a lot of merchandising was available and a lot of tie-in promotions were available for the movies that we loved. So they had a larger cultural footprint because if we went to McDonald's, there was a Happy Meal tie-in. If we went to the comic book store, there was a movie adaptation of the comic book or a comic book adaptation of the movie, or there were trading cards or toys and things like that. So I'm curious,
games.
video games, of course. Yeah. So I'm curious for you, like, what were some of the kind of staples of your childhood, like movies that you became a collector for?
I, my answer is super boring, and I apologize to folks out there who maybe want something more interesting. My answer is Star Wars, but I will say specifically that Episode One, um, being young, I'm Episode One is '99, so I'm going on 13 when that movie comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't realize how collectors markets worked, where scarcity was a value add or a value determiner. So
Mm-hmm.
when the when the Episode One action figures were coming out,
Mm-hmm.
I bought a whole bunch of them to keep in box and to
Yeah.
keep mint and put them. This is how I knew I was an old soul. Put them in a box, like a UPS box or whatever, up on a shelf in my room, and was just like, someday that'll like pay for college. Like I'm just gonna put that in there. I had no idea that like the only reason these things are valuable is because there aren't that many of them, and so on and so forth. But I
I
was
had that with the starting lineup dream team
nice.
from the Olympics where I was like, I can't take these out of the box. And then I
So
realized everybody had them.
So I was cleaning recently, and I found
Okay.
that box. I found that box
That's
of
amazing. Yeah.
mint condition Anakin's and Padme's, and it was a nice little flashback there. But Adam, how about you? What's your go to for this?
Yeah, well, I do want to talk about episode one because that was sort of on the tail end of me being a collector, but I did get into the figures for Star Wars for the first time with the special editions. Because as you said, they like re-released a lot of like the real like D-list characters, like the ones that just were in like Moss Eisley Cantina and stuff like that. I remember with episode one, like Taco Bell had stuff, and like Pepsi bottles were like with pod racing on them and stuff like that. So I remember as a high schooler going to lunch to Taco Bell and stuff like that, and that was pretty exciting. For me, like the big ones were Batman '89. I had for Hanukkah, like I bought the Batwing. I got a remote control Batmobile that I drove down the stairs once and it broke, and I was just like, well, that's not like Batman. I'm like, and my grandpa was not like Alfred who could fix things,
No.
so it just was broken. But I was really into trading cards, so I had like complete sets of like Terminator 2 cards, Hook, the Addams Family, Jurassic Park. As I got older, I got into like the Sega Genesis licensed video games of like Jurassic Park, and especially like the Disney ones like Aladdin and Toy Story and things like that. And then I loved soundtracks to movies, especially if it was not scores, but it was like the pop single soundtracks. And I would listen to those over and again, even if the movie was kind of dodgy. Like I liked the hype around it. So I was a child who enjoyed being marketed to. I think the last one that I really kind of got into was probably The Lion King. Um, and I kind of wanted to dip my toe back in with stuff like Batman Forever and Congo, but at that point it was more like the movie magazines and things like that than actual like action figures and cards. Yeah.
We'll say Batman Forever, the McDonald's glasses, which I mean,
Oh God, those are great.
those are great.
Yeah.
Still, my mom still has one of those. I think we still have the Robin one.
Yeah. When I move next year, I plan on turning one of the rooms into a theater room. So I'll finally get the theater room that I want. And I wanted to decorate it with translite photo images that you could buy on eBay. So a lot of it is like the header images, the animation for like pinball games, and then the McDonald's tie-ins. So it's like the Dino Sizer meal. Like I want to buy one of those for like $20 and frame it and put it up and things like that. So all right, so Rob, my next question for you, I know we're going out of order,
It's okay.
is I came up with three summer blockbusters, and I'm going to name a role from those movies, and I'm going to ask you to recast them. You can do an era appropriate actor, or you could do a actor of the modern day that
Yeah.
you would cast in that role that you think would be good in that role.
Mm-hmm.
So first up in chronological order, the biggest movie domestically of 1990, summer of 1990, that was Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Whoopi Goldberg. Rob, if you had to recast Demi Moore in Ghost, who would you choose?
Lawrence Pugh.
Oh,
It's Pugh.
yeah, I could see that.
Period.
That's it.
Period.
End of sentence.
With a T.
All right. Next one, 1995, Batman Forever. It was almost Leonardo DiCaprio, but it eventually became Chris O'Donnell. And if casting legend is true, an executive walked around the Warner Brothers lot with photos of Chris O'Donnell and Leonardo DiCaprio and asked random people who would win in a fight between these two, and most people said Chris O'Donnell.
This one, I'm going to need to think about a little bit. Do you have
The
an answer
problem,
for? I'm not going to ask you for it, but do you have an answer for
no,
this?
I don't, because the problem with like age appropriate people nowadays is that they all look 10 years younger than
That's
they are.
so that's it. So my thoughts, of course, I'm thinking early 20s, young, up and coming, new Hollywood. My thoughts go to obviously little Timmy Tim Tim. They go to little Timmy Chalamet.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't read Robin to me. Um, I go to, I mean, I'm even thinking now probably too old, but I was thinking like a John Boyega. But he's
Okay.
probably too old now too. I'm thinking 10 years ago, like Force Awakens, John Boyega. See, the problem is, like you said, everybody I'm thinking of is too old
Yeah.
I mean, Chris O'Donnell was too old for that part too. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, do I
Mm-hmm.
try to go more with like Robin casting where Robin is, age appropriate, where he's like, I mean, depending on the Robin, between 14 and 18 years old, um,
Yeah.
which, doesn't really open us up to much. But
I've got an answer. I don't want to see this performance,
Okay.
but I think that he would get like the annoying part of Robin just right. Is Simu Liu?
I was just thinking it, but I thought he was too old. I thought maybe he would be too old.
Yeah, but he's annoying.
Tony
Yeah.
Rebel, I like him.
Okay.
Fun one.
I
I
like
like
it.
him.
All right, last one. Going back to Star Wars Episode One, The Phantom Menace. Who would you cast as Qui-Gon Jinn?
So Qui-Gon for me, trustworthy, resolute,
Mm-hmm.
um, sensitive,
Seiji.
stagey.
Oh, Seiji, like
Oh,
without
stagey.
the.
I thought you meant stagey, like oh.
Oh,
I mean, the first thing that came to mind when I think about who fits all that is
Will Smith.
is Will Smith. Yeah. Here's what I'm gonna say. All right, here's what I want to do. And this is a little Hollywood reclamation project for me. I know this is not gonna work. I know that would not work.
Yeah.
But Mads Mikkelsen is an actor I love
Mm-hmm.
who almost exclusively plays villains in Hollywood films. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
and he's played really compelling parts in his native Danish films. He's played sort of scumbums. He's played I Loved Another Round a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He has a very different character type depending on what language he's speaking, what films he's in, or what I love him on Hannibal. So because he has always played villains in English language productions, and I do find him when he wants to be, or when he's given the opportunity to be a very sagey and vulnerable actor. I would like to see him play an English language hero.
I think I can remember him doing that sort of once with Rogue One. That's about it.
Even Rogue One, he's a supporting role, and he's kind of
Yeah. He's like secret good guy.
secret good guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it. So I know he's already done a Star Wars movie, so that might
It's
disqualify
okay.
him. But you can't.
It's
I
all
can't do
good.
that stuff. That's not ideal for me. If I'm looking at casting sheets, I'm looking at pictures. Obviously, there's other people who would probably fit it better. But for a long time, I've wanted, because I like him so much, and I'm so sick of him playing villains in English language
Mhm.
movies. I would just like to see him do something different.
I kind of want for the Demi Moore part in Ghost, John Leguizamo, for Qui-Gon Jinn, John Leguizamo, and for Robin, John Leguizamo. Yeah.
See, now Leguizamo's kind of already played a Robin though, because he played Luigi, who is kind of Mario's Robin. I got one for you.
All right, I'm ready.
We'll play a little game here.
Yeah.
Okay. Going back to Barbenheimer, right?
Yes.
Two movies, blockbusters released on the same day, and the internet has been like, wait, what? You can do that, right? Which speaks to our point before, because
Yeah.
nobody knows what counter programming is anymore, because not enough movies come out in the theaters.
The Land Before Time and Oliver and Company came out the same day.
And America was shook.
Okay? Batman and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, same day.
Well, don't do too many more of these, because this is going to play into what I'm talking about.
All right.
So, The Ringer recently released a list, and it was the top 10 most popular, highest grossing days in movie release. So just
cool. Okay.
month and day. So like July 5th or August 7th, all the August 7ths in the course of movie history.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give Adam a day off of this list, and I'm going to see if you can guess any of the movies that are in the top highest grossing of that were released on that day.
All right.
So first day, number one on the list is July 3rd. So Adam, can you give me any movies that were released on July 3rd?
Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Terminator 2, Judgment Day is on the list.
Was Independence Day July 3rd?
Independence Day is on the list.
Okay. Phenomenon.
Phenomenon is on the list.
Yeah, that opened the same day as Independence Day.
First entry in a kids, speaking of toy movies, action auteur, first
Transformers.
Transformers in 2000.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, December 19th. Let's go December 19th.
I know Titanic and Tomorrow Never Dies were December 19th.
Titanic, Tomorrow Never Dies, one more.
The Barbenheimer of their time.
Barbenheimer of their time, yeah. One more, fantasy kickoff fantasy series, epic fantasy series kickoff.
Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Also the very nice.
Okay.
Last one, July 15th.
July 15th.
15th.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Wedding Crashers.
Yep.
The Barbenheimer of their day.
The end of another fantasy franchise.
Of the end of a fantasy franchise. What decade?
2010s.
Harry Potter and the Half-Blood? No. Deathly Hallows Part 2?
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
All right, December 18th. This is the number 7th highest grossing date in movie history. December 18th. Now this is close to
So one of the best movies ever made, You've Got Mail.
That's why I chose this date.
The Prince of Egypt was the same day.
That's the very next one on the list.
Other December 18th. Let's see. At
its time, the biggest movie ever made.
Oh boy.
Most
December 18th, biggest movie ever made.
Ever.
Avatar?
Avatar.
All right. Rock and roll. This is fun.
Movies. Movies are good. Movies are good again.
Movies are fun. Speaking of which, we're going to spend all of August celebrating one of the best movie summers of all time. To celebrate its 30th anniversary, we are going to be doing a recap of some of our faves from summer. Some of our faves are some of the movies that maybe like we haven't seen or haven't seen in a while. So we are going to be celebrating the films of summer 1993, and we are kicking it off with one of the biggest hit movies from one of the stars that is still prominent even this month in a new release, the Mr. Tom Cruise in his movie The Firm, the adaptation of the John Grisham paperback airport page-turning novel.
I've seen The Firm once before, and it got me so jazzed that I cannot wait to revisit. I'm so excited to watch The Firm again.
The Firm is fun. I caught like an hour of it on Epix like 2 weeks ago, and I was just like, I gotta talk about The Firm.
So until next time.
Hey, go see Barbenheimer, have fun, enjoy movies.